So it's a beautiful day here in HooptieDoodle land. The sun is shining. We are happy because we are doing something creative today. We are expanding our mind. Hashtag growth mindset. And today we are hoping to accomplish something new, something we haven't done before. Welding. We're doing some welding today. I'm a novice at best welder. So I just learned how to make the thing work, you know? And so we're doing something new. It is a challenge for me and a challenge I'm looking forward to. Hopefully I don't screw anything up. We're making a hoop today for the suspension. A hoop. Or a loop. Some people call it a loop. We're gonna make one of those for the suspension. This is a key part of the suspension build for the rear suspension, building it up. Once we get this hoop made, then we can move on and build the mounts for the spring and get the rear end put together, and then we are rolling because then we can put the rear wheel back on. This is the, I think, the last major hurdle. Everything else should be a lesser problem and things should move faster. So wish me luck. To do our modification, we want to put an additional bar or hoop up around here like this. And so this guy right here, that is a support for the rear brake caliper, this needs to go away. So to do that, my plan is to come in here and cut this guy out and grind all this down so it's nice and flat like the rest of this. And then the bar I'm gonna leave alone so I have the new hoop put in there, and then we'll weld a new support for the brake thing to the new hoop. That is the plan. So in my efforts to modify the rear suspension, I have made this template out of cardboard. So this is the basic shape I'm going for. It's gonna start and end right there. We're gonna have a support here in the middle and maybe some supports on the side. Off of here, we're gonna have our suspension attachment point. So this is where I started to get an idea of what it would look like, what kind of bend it would have, and then from there. So I've got two of these guys, 290 bends. These are 1 inch outside diameter. It's like 0.084 of an inch wall. My plan is basically to cut both of the 90s right about here and then weld them both together to make a U. And then that will be my swing arm modification, and that will go up here like so-ish. So I've got the other one in the vise. I've got it marked off with some tape where I want to cut it. And I'm being conservative, cutting off less than I need to cut off, so there's more pipe left, and I will grind it down as I need to make this work. I've cut these right here at this point to where it's pretty close to the shape I want, and now we just need to weld these two pieces together. So in order to do that, I'm going to make a slug that fits into both of these, which is a solid piece of rod. And that rod in the middle will give it more strength. So that's the plan. That's our next step. Well, my father came out and said, why aren't you using the lathe? And so we're gonna use the lathe. This guy. We've got a solid piece of rod here, and using the lathe, I'm gonna cut it down. We've got our slug made. It's supposed to fit right in here on this pipe. You'll notice, however, though, that it doesn't quite fit in there on that end, but it does fit in nicely on that end. And that is because this end is a little oblong because of the bend. When they bent this, it distorted the tube a little bit, and now it's an oblong shape and this doesn't fit in there. The solution is to heat this up, which will expand the metal, and I can also shape it a little bit, and that should allow me to get this in here. My next step, I've got this to where I want it. I actually want, when I put this in here, I want this to have a gap about a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch, and I'm also going to scarf, what they call scarf the edges here, so that I put like a little angle all the way around here. And all this is thanks to one of my dad's friends who's a welder, explained all this to me. These are all tricks from him. So thanks, Ed. Alright, I've now got it to where everything is lined up where I want it. It's right between a 1/16 of an inch and an 1/8 of an inch gap. My next step is to scarf the edges on here. So I'm going to put a 45-degree angle all the way around. And my next step is to modify this slug. I've marked the midway point on this slug right here. I need to cut these edges off on the tops here so that they fit the curve of the pipe better. I've now got my relief cuts made in the slug here so that in theory it will fit in here nicely. My next step then is to heat these things up and see if I can insert the slug. So here it is, the slug fitted into one half of the hoop. We will now try to get it into the other half. All right, now I've ground this portion here down quite a bit so that it will form and fit into the other pipe. My plan, my hope, my desire is to heat up the other pipe and then jam it on this one. So hopefully it works. All right, we've got both pieces together now. We've got a gap exactly where we want it, and everything is aligned appropriately. So, welding is next. All right, we've got our weld done. We've joined these together. It's not a weld I would say I was proud of in any shape or form. That's why I didn't show you how I did it, because you're not going to learn anything about welding from me. But we do have welded together, and I think it will be very strong, and that I am proud of. I'm happy with that. Our next step in doing this, before I can cut this part down here, is to make my little part here that this will rest on. That's what's next. Well, that's how HooptieDoodle makes a hoop, at least this time. Next time, maybe we'll try one of the other million ways of making a hoop. But that's another story. Attaching the hoop, that's also another story. For another time, another adventure. See you then. Thank you for watching, and keep on wrenching.